Heyo, welcome everyone to episode 30 of Today in the Scene. I'm Joe with Indie Arcade Wave, and this week we're going to explore a new platformer called Super Cable Boy. This game is packed with nostalgia and complex levels. I'm joined today by the creator Sebastian Lieb, all the way from Germany. Sebastian, how are you doing?
I'm fine today. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on here. For everybody listening, just wanted to remind you that we do release these episodes every Friday. If you enjoy what we're doing here, definitely follow, subscribe, and share with your friends. We're on all major platforms for podcasts as well as on YouTube. So, Sebastian,
Yeah.
Super Cable Boy, I want to get to know a little bit more about the game and you as a creator, developer. It kind of, to me, all I know is that you're the only person on the project. Did you have other people working on this with you?
Yes, I'm almost the only person on the project. There is a second composer that helped me compose like half of the music, I'd say. But other than that, it's all just me.
Okay, so if you did, I'm assuming that means you did like all the development, all the programming, all the art. What do you do on a daily basis? Do you work in the programming sector?
Yes, I work at the university in the computer graphics department, and I also have I'm giving courses at the university about Unity game development. But other than that, I just studied plain computer science, made my bachelor's and master's, and yeah, so that's pretty much it.
Okay, so Super Cable Boy. Awesome concept for a platformer, and I love the gameplay. I want to know,
Thank
how
you.
did you come up with this idea of creating what feels like a little like handheld gaming device running through a world and saving everybody? Where did you come up with that idea?
Good question. I was always a fan about. I was always a big fan of BMO from Adventure Time. I don't know if you know him.
Did you say BMO from like Adventure Time?
Yeah. So I was always
Yes.
a fan of this character, and yeah, I don't know. That's I think where the main idea came from making a game with a handheld console as a character. But the game development started with a game jam. So th- I organized a private game jam at our university, and the topic of the game jam was electricity. So I knew I wanted to do something with cables and electric devices and that kind of stuff. You can still play the prototype that was made during the game jam on my website. Yeah, so that's basically how it started. It started on this game jam where we didn't have much time to think about what we're gonna make. So I just started doing something, and I really liked it. And after the game jam, I decided to continue working on the game.
Okay, yeah. I actually find that a lot of these games start in game jams and then just get tweaked a little bit. Maybe the characters change, maybe the art direction changes.
Yeah.
Um, so with that, how did you go about creating the game? You said you made it in Unity.
Yeah.
What were some of your first steps? Did you go straight into the art direction, or did you go more into the programming and functionality side of it?
Um, so I have made platformers before. Nothing really commercial, but I always wanted to make like a proper platformer, and I have done platformer games for game jams before. And since I'm mainly doing computer graphics from my work and that kind of stuff, I focused on the aesthetics first, I would say. But I also wrote my master and bachelor thesis about physics programming. So I don't know. I think these were the main two things that came together in the first place. So I basically just started up Unity, wrote a basic physics engine, and thought what my main concept art would be like. And for game jams, it's always good to have restrictions. So that's where this Game Boy kind of graphic style come from. You only use four colors basically, and yeah, it's pretty easy to come up with an art style like this. Just give yourself some restrictions. I'll only use four colors, have this kind of resolution, that kind of stuff, and everything just developed from there, I think. So it all developed step by step, and also if you compare the prototype versus the game now, there's a lot that changed, not only in the art style, but also the main mechanic with the cartridge swapping and that wasn't there in the prototype. So yeah, I'd say I started with the to get back to your question, I started with the art style and the physics. I'd say so how the character behaves. So it feels good to move him around, jump on walls, and that kind of stuff. So the basic mechanics and the art style. Yeah.
Okay, so I want you to go a little more in depth. Give me an explanation of what the game is about, how the game is played. I love the map for the game, seeing every level instead of it just being a picture. It actually is like a world that you're moving through. Um, Kind of give me a walkthrough of what this game is like and what players would expect if they were to buy your game.
All right, all right. So I think the main idea that drove the whole game world, I would say, is let's imagine there's a world made out of just hardware and software things. So everything that's in the world is either related to hardware or programming and software and that kind of stuff. So um, yeah, it starts off with Cable Boy having like a dream, and because the device is in sleep mode, so there's always these connections to some kind of um, computer stuff. So he's in sleep mode, so he's dreaming, and yeah, in the first sequence, it's basically also a tutorial, but you learn how he behaves, how he jumps, and how you maneuver the world. And you also meet the glitch in his dream. That is the main antagonist. Antagonist? How is it pronounced in English?
Yep, that's right.
Antagonist. So the bad guy, yeah. So you meet him, and uh, yeah, so that's how the game starts. And from there, well, he had this bad dream about the glitch, so he wants to know more about it. He wants to meet the rice cooker in the clouds, which I mean, there's also, as I said, there's always like the joke with something that connects to software or hardware. So because all knowledge is stored in the cloud, he has to go to the cloud and ask this other device for help. And yeah, he tells him he has to fight him and to rescue the world by collecting all the cartridges. And yeah, that's basically the story and what you have to do. And the rest of the game, yeah, you just do it.
Right, yeah, and it's such simple gameplay, but I found it really interesting how the cartridges just add another element, but it feels like it adds so much depth to the game.
Yeah, thank you. I think that is also something that is maybe different than most platformers that I've played. I think if you look at Celeste, for example, or um, yeah, Super Mario maybe as well, and most platformers they are progress or the new elements of the world and the new gameplay elements are usually introduced by the environment, right? So
Right.
if you play Celeste and there's clouds and then there's this uh, wall that you can dash through and then there's things you can dash onto that move and all that kind of stuff. So it's mostly introducing mechanics through the environment. And in Super Cable Boy, my idea was maybe I just wanted to try if it's possible to do it the other way around. So to have a mostly static environment. It's not completely true, but most of the time the environment is very it's just walls basically. It's just obstacles and walls. And but the behavior of the character changes. So you get new abilities and you maneuver the levels differently now. Yeah, that was, I guess that was the idea. So it's not very consistent in that idea. So there are still things in the environment that change, but I try to focus more on changing the movement of the character than to change the environment throughout the game.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like you more go the route of adding new abilities and changing the environment through the story because you're told by the rice cooker to go find this cartridge or find that cartridge to help this way or that way to progress to fight the glitch. And I
Yeah,
found that that was a really unique mechanic as opposed to breaking a box and getting a power up, or you're in a new area, so this is how the environment is in this area and you need to
yeah,
learn. Um,
and it
I'm
also
really curious.
yeah,
Go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, it also opens different kind of level design, I think. So you can still, like, you can design a level to be played with different cartridges. Usually, if the environment dictates how the level is played, there's most of the time there's only one or a few ways to play it. But that gave me, like, having the actual ability and movement of the character change instead of the environment, gave me the freedom to design levels in a way that I can play it in totally different ways. And I thought it was, yeah, I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, even just running through the beta, there were areas where I couldn't grab the secret item, and then I was like, oh, well, maybe if I had a cartridge that helped me get a little bit farther down there or swing or something, it would make it easier. And that's exactly what it was. So you could design levels and kind of put Easter eggs in there for people to realize, oh, I need to go back and
Yeah,
do
yeah,
that when
yeah.
I can do it. Um,
It gives it also a little bit
I'm
of a Metrovania feel, I think. Especially now that I'm adding more and more secret areas to the world, you can always go back to other levels and go a different path and that kind of stuff.
right. I've noticed that you built a pretty big following before the game, and I kind of wanted your advice for other indie developers as to how do you build a following to promote your game to reach some sort of success by means of release and sales
Yeah,
from nothing.
that is a good question. And basically, I have no idea. So I think that is probably the most difficult part, at least for me, not to make the game, but to sell and market the game. I really don't have much experience doing this. I think Twitter worked out for me because not only because I'm developing this game, but also I had all kinds of content that I'm putting out there. Like I did some tutorials for developers or just interesting visual stuff that I put out there. And I think most of the following came from that. And then I could carry some of that over, like some of the people that follow me for the visuals and for the tutorial developer stuff, they also got interested in the game afterwards because they were already following me. So yeah, and I also tried this on Reddit, but on Reddit there was more like a dedicated Reddit just for the game, and yeah, I had some following there, but not as big as on Twitter, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I found you on Twitter and I found it interesting right away because it was just the gameplay that I was really interested in and the way that it looked. Um, and I think that that is a good place for indie developers to focus their efforts to start building their following.
Yeah, especially if I do it on Twitter, I think what helps is to have quick visual things. I mean, I think it's nothing new. Like if you go on Twitter, it has to be these super short and super interesting little bites and pieces of content that people want to engage with.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they want to share it. They want to let their friends know about it. Sebastian, I want to know, where did your love for video games begin? Because I mean, you don't just jump into programming video games unless
No, no.
there's some kind of history or story behind it.
Yeah, and also it's not easy. So if you start earlier, I think you can be more successful or not successful. Like you just need a lot of time. Oh, sorry. You just need a lot of time to develop the skill to make games. I think it's really not easy. So I think my love for video games probably started when I was a child and got my first Game Boy. So I think it's now coming to a full circle now that I make a game about a Game Boy like character. Um, yeah, so my passion for video games first came from playing video games, not from making video games. But I always liked to make stuff as well, and I always like to, or I think I enjoy stuff more when I can say, oh, that is something that I could also maybe do. So if I look at a picture or listen to music and I'm like, oh, that I understand this to a degree, and I think I could do maybe something similar, then I enjoy it more. So I think that led me to also want to make video games because I played video games and was like, ah, this is really interesting. I want to get deeper into this, and if I make video games, I can understand them better when I play them. And also, making video games is just awesome. It's like you can create your own world and make the rules and make the graphics and make the audio, like all of these kind of things that I like to do come together. And yeah, I think yeah, it's just a lot of fun for me. And coincidentally, I studied computer science, so I also had some kind of tools to go into video game development.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're an artist, a creator, and you want to make and make more. And I think it's really cool that you did pretty much, like you said, pretty much everything for this game. I mean, you really took it from nothing to being a full-fledged game that is incredibly enjoyable to play. And I want to know what were your inspirations for this? Like, what games were there any games like at the time of you developing this that you were really playing that you were like, I really like this mechanic, I really like this design, I like this art style, I like this sound that you
Yeah,
were
yeah, yeah,
drawing from to create this game?
yeah, for sure. I mean, I think most games that I do are a mixture of the things that I like in other games. So, or at least I hope, because yeah, for Super Cable Boy, I think it was pretty much the time I discovered Celeste, and I think Celeste is gameplay wise the main inspiration. I just like how well the character feels when moving it around, and I kind of doubted that it was possible to make such a good pixel style platformer when Celeste came out, and yeah, and I was really surprised when I played it because I think I played Celeste later than everyone else because I watched trailer and videos of it, and I honestly had to say like it looks a little bit like a basic pixel art platformer to me. But then I played it, and it was just really good. And then I was like, hey, I want to do something like this as well. And then I started this game jam, and then I picked it up even more and really wanted to work on it. But from the visual style, I think it is more like, I think Fates is the main inspiration, I would say. Like these glitch kind of graphics. And yeah, I think I just mixed in a lot of stuff that I knew how to do at the time. And then this art style popped out of it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Celeste is a great game, and I feel like the more you play it, the more you find in it just the depth of everything
Yeah.
that there is to it. Um, I'm curious as to this is always a really hard question for developers to answer because everybody has their own view on it, and there's so many games out now. But if you could rate your top 5 games you've ever played, and you can pick if you want to do like games for a certain system or indie games or whatever,
Okay,
what
okay.
would your top 5 favorite games of all time be?
That's a difficult one for sure. Um, I'd say yeah, Celeste is definitely in there. Um, Also, one game that I really loved was the Stanley Parable. That's definitely one of my top picks. Um, Other than that, I've played so many games. It's really it's difficult. Let's see. Maybe some of the more recent games that I played. I also played A Short Hike, and I really enjoyed it, even though it was very short. I really enjoyed that. Um, I don't know. It's really hard to pick, but I named three, I think.
Right, yeah, you gave me 3 of them. That's good. I mean, it is so hard to pick out of all the games that you've ever played,
Yeah,
especially pulling little bits from every game here and there.
yeah,
So, since are you still working on Super Cable Boy a little bit?
yeah. I'm still patching content, and there's other things behind the scenes that I'm doing right now. For example, I have to prepare for the Switch release. That's something that I definitely want to do to release it on Switch. And yeah, so there's some, because I'm doing all of this stuff by myself. Like there were companies reaching out to me and like they want to help me, like for porting the game on all the consoles or translating the game, that kind of stuff. But for pausing now, I decided to do it myself, which might have been a bad idea. I don't know. Yeah, that's always the problem, the way that I work, that I want to do everything by myself, or if someone comes up and is like, hey, I could do that, and I always think, oh, I don't need this person, I can do it myself. And then the thing that this person wanted to do for me ends up being a lot more work than I thought it would be. Yeah, but these are things that are going on right now behind the scenes. The Switch port is one big thing. Also, I want to release on some more stores, for example, the itch.io store, and translations. I want to translate the game into a few more languages. So, but even though, because these are all things that don't really add much to the game for the people who already have the game, I still want to make sure that I also put out some content patches here and there, whenever I have the time to.
Gotcha. So it sounds like you've still got a little bit of work to do on it. I was curious if you were working on anything else at the time or not.
Oh, always. I have.
There's always something else in the oven.
Yes, I mean there is, but there is obviously. I think every game developer has this big folder of projects that he or she started and never finished. And yeah, I have this folder too. So there's lots of Unity projects in my Unity folder, or other frameworks and languages. Um, and there are some of them that I want to pick up again at some point. The question is, can I do it? Can I focus on one thing for that long? I don't know. I don't even know how I did it for Super Cable Boy. So it's always more interesting to do something completely new. But yeah, there's a couple of things that I want to finish. I think after I'm done with most of the Super Cable Boy work. Yeah. Should I? Do you want to hear about some of the projects?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to give us a little sneak on a few things that you are interested in working on, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I can. So what I definitely want to do is go more into the experimental route, because after all, Super Cable Boy it's a platforming game, and it has pixel graphics, and it's maybe not the most innovative game that I could think of. So my plan is maybe to do something more weird, more strange, more different, not as big, so that I have more time to do more different stuff. Um, so, and I also want to dip into all kinds of genres. I don't want to constrain myself to making more platformer games, so that kind of stuff. So I have one game that is like a strategy building god kind of game that I might want to continue working on. I have never posted about this on Twitter because I'm always thinking, I don't want to spoil it now. Maybe I want to finish it first. I don't know. And there are a few of these projects that I have never tweeted about and that kind of stuff. I think if I have tweeted about it, I probably will not continue doing it.
Interesting. I feel like once you put it out there, you almost set a precedence that you're going to start working on it. But that's interesting that if you
Yeah.
posted about it, you probably won't be working on it.
Yeah, because it feels like this is the content I got out of it, and I showed it to people, and I mean, if there would be like a real very positive feedback, and all the people would say, "Oh, this looks amazing! Please make this game," then I would consider it. But if I've put it out and people were like, "Oh yeah, that looks cool," and that's it, then I feel like maybe I won't continue making it.
Right. Maybe you're sinking a lot of time into something that people only kind of like. I totally understand that. Um, yeah, I mean that about wraps it up for anything that I had to ask. I guess to cap everything off, can you share your social medias so people can find you?
Sure. I think the most prominent one is my Twitter. So it's twitter.com/Zerbgames, SOERBGAMES. And yeah, I think that you can find everything from there. There's an itch.io page, there's Reddit, and but it's all linked from my Twitter page.
Fantastic. Well, if you guys haven't checked out Super Cable Boy yet, you definitely need to. I don't know if the demo is still up for people to try out or
It
not,
is.
but the game is on Steam. You can go grab it and play it today on your PC. And I just want to thank you again, Sebastian, for coming on here.
Yeah, thanks for
This is a
having me.
game that I've really enjoyed playing and definitely wanted to tell people about. Um, Again, like I said before, if you are a fan of the podcast or the YouTube channel, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. We are on all major platforms. And until next time, peace.
Yeah, thanks for having me.